To truly grasp why Vevo exists, we have to look at the smoking ruins of the music industry in the late 2000s. This was an era of existential dread for major labels like Universal Music Group and Sony Music. For decades, their business model was incredibly simple. They controlled the physical manufacturing and distribution of plastic discs called CDs. It was a goldmine that seemed eternal. But by 2008, the golden goose was dead. High-speed internet and file-sharing services had decapitated the retail music market. Revenue from physical sales was plummeting by double digits every single year, and the industry was bleeding billions of dollars with no end in sight. In the middle of this financial collapse, a new titan emerged: YouTube. But to the executives in the record label boardrooms, YouTube wasn't a savior, it was a parasite. In those early days, YouTube was a chaotic Wild West of copyright infringement. Millions of users were ripping audio from songs and pairing them with low-quality, grainy visuals to upload as music videos. These unofficial pirate uploads were generating hundreds of millions of views. Google, the owner of YouTube, was selling advertisements alongside this pirated content. However, due to the legal complexities of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DMCA, YouTube could claim they were merely a service provider and weren't responsible for what their users uploaded. This created a massive legal black hole where the label's most valuable assets were being exploited for profit, yet they weren't seeing a single penny in return. It was like watching someone sell tickets to your own house party while you were locked in the basement, powerless to stop them. Tensions reached a boiling point in 2008. During that era, record labels weren't just fighting technology, they were fighting an unstoppable tidal wave. Major labels made decisions that might seem laughable today. They hired an entire army of video watchers, hundreds, even thousands of people, just to stare at YouTube screens all day and manually issue takedown notices for individual videos. But it was like trying to drain a collapsing dam with a teaspoon. For every single file of Lady Gaga's Poker Face they successfully deleted, 10 or even 100 more would appear within seconds, usually in terrible quality, with pixelated visuals and distorted audio. This was a war of copyright whack-a-mole that wasted both time and resources. Studies from that period showed that these infringing videos were generating massive traffic for YouTube, making Google incredibly rich, while the record labels were receiving $0 in return. What hurt the most was that the more the labels ordered these videos to be taken down, the more the fans grew to hate them. Consumers began to view record labels as prehistoric monsters standing in the way of their entertainment. The critical turning point came when Doug Morris, the CEO at the helm of Universal Music Group, looked at his plummeting revenue and had a sudden moment of clarity. He admitted a painful truth: if we don't change, we're just waiting to die. Morris understood a fundamental reality that the label's legal teams refused to accept. You cannot defeat consumer behavior through litigation. Since the world had already decided that YouTube was the new MTV, a hub of entertainment that could be accessed for free anywhere at any time, trying to block it was like trying to stop someone from breathing. The label's mission wasn't to kill YouTube, it was to seize control of the advertising power within YouTube itself. The ceasefire of two giants, when the enemy of my enemy is my friend. In the music industry of that era, Universal Music Group and Sony Music were fierce rivals who had clashed for decades. They rarely agreed on anything regarding business. However, by 2009, the situation forced them to choose between their pride and their survival. They realized that if they negotiated with Google individually, they would have zero leverage. Google would use a divide and conquer strategy to crush each label one by one until they accepted whatever terms were dictated to them. Therefore, the partnership to create Vevo was not built on friendship. It was a strategic counterattack born out of desperation. They joined forces to build a content wall so massive that Google simply could not afford to ignore it. The premium hostage strategy, holding superstars for ransom. The record labels knew that their most powerful weapon wasn't the law, it was the artists. They employed a tactic known as the premium hostage strategy, using high-end content as leverage in their negotiations. They established Vevo as a VIP lounge, a clean, premium sanctuary clearly separated from the chaotic amateur videos on YouTube. This space was designed to be pristine, featuring high-definition visuals and the iconic Vevo watermark as a seal of quality. They approached Google with an ultimatum that was impossible to refuse. We will drop all our pending lawsuits, and we will serve you the world's most sought-after content, Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber, Rihanna, and Taylor Swift, on a silver platter. But if you want these stars to keep your audience on your platform, you must play by our rules. This was the ultimate power move, using global icons to force a tech titan like Google to take a step back and protect their massive views and profits. Ad server control, the fight for the back-end power. The non-negotiable term and the most critical part of this deal was ad server control, the label's demand to manage the advertising back-end themselves. Why was this so vital? At the time, YouTube sold ads in bulk, often at bargain bin prices. Luxury brands were hesitant to advertise on the platform because they feared their ads would appear next to inappropriate or low-quality content, a massive brand safety crisis. The labels saw it differently. They believed that a superstar's music video was a grade A product that deserved a far higher ad rate. What Vevo did was reclaim the right to sell advertising. They managed their own sales team, bypassing Google's automated systems for their content. They approached brands like Coca-Cola, BMW, and global perfume houses with a guarantee. If you advertise with us, your ad will play in front of a Lady Gaga video in premium HD, and we guarantee it won't appear next to some low-quality home video. By controlling the ad server, Vevo could charge super premium rates, often 3 to 5 times higher than standard YouTube ads. This wasn't about technology, it was about reclaiming the economic dignity of art. The labels wanted to prove that their music was worth significantly more than the average internet video. Building the ultimate golden cage. Vevo became the golden cage that the labels built together to corral their artists. They wanted to establish a new gold standard. If you saw the Vevo watermark, it meant the content was official, premium, and valuable. At that moment, the labels believed they had won. They had successfully forced Google to allow them to manage the money-making systems inside Google's own house. They felt they had built an impregnable fortress to protect their vanishing revenue. What they didn't realize at the time was that building an expensive castle on someone else's land comes with a heavy price, one they would have to pay dearly in the years to come.
The dream of Vevo.com, which once hoped to become the sanctuary of music videos, began to mutate into a terrifying financial black hole that drained the record label's resources at an alarming rate. Between 2013 and 2017, Vevo's management decided to make one final desperate bet. They knew that if they remained mere tenants on YouTube, they would never truly build their own wealth. So they began pouring in capital on a scale the music industry had never seen before. They started hiring top-tier producers from TV and cinema to create original programming, exclusive content that could only be found on the Vevo app. This included documentary-style, behind-the-scenes tour footage, exclusive live sessions where global superstars showcased their vocals in private studios, and mini-series offering a glimpse into the private lives of icons. They believed this content would be a powerful magnet capable of ripping fans away from YouTube's grip. But the reality that slapped management across the face was this: YouTube's gravitational pull was simply too strong. Imagine this. Vevo spends millions of dollars creating a high-end show for Taylor Swift or Justin Bieber. They host it exclusively on the Vevo.com app, hoping millions of fans will flock to download it. But the result was a hollow silence. Most fans chose to wait or find short clips that someone had inevitably ripped and uploaded to YouTube instead. Human behavior is simple but incredibly difficult to change. It's all about user friction. Viewers didn't see Vevo as a brand, they saw it as a play button within YouTube. Asking them to download an additional app to watch something they felt they should be able to access easily and for free in their usual spot was a losing battle from day one. The statistics from that period were a true embarrassment for the management team. Reports indicated that over 95% of Vevo's views were still clustered on YouTube. Meanwhile, their own heavily funded website and app had shockingly low active user counts. The costs of server rentals, software engineering teams, app promotion, and original content production combined into a massive money fire that could never be extinguished. Every single cent invested into building their own home essentially evaporated because at the end of the day, the audience still chose to enter through Google's front door. By 2018, the struggle, full of nothing but pain, finally came to an end. Sinking under the weight of accumulated losses from trying to be a tech startup, Vevo management decided to bow their heads and officially accept defeat. They executed a mercy killing of the project they were once most proud of. Vevo ordered the shutdown of the consumer-facing Vevo.com website and wiped their mobile apps from global stores without a trace. This was a total surrender to their landlord, Google. They accepted the bitter truth. We do not have the capacity to build our own platform. From their original dream of shaking the world with tech and premium content, they devolved into a mere content syndicator. From that point on, Vevo's role was reduced to that of an agent, taking video files and placing them for sale in spaces owned by others, whether it be YouTube, Roku, Apple TV, or even home television screens. This was the moment the golden cage fully revealed its power. They were locked in a cage of their own making, only realizing once their pockets were empty that in the digital economy, the platform owner with the data holds the true power. The content owner, no matter how legendary, is nothing more than a resident who must constantly hope the landlord doesn't raise the rent or change the rules on a whim.
Even more painful was the arrival of YouTube Shorts. Its emergence between 2021 and 2022 marked the beginning of a brutal devaluation of global music videos. Panicked by the explosive growth of TikTok, YouTube decided to pivot its entire platform from video sharing to short-form content. It was this very strategy that effectively dismantled Vevo's power. Imagine the irony. Vevo spent an entire decade building a brand image that music videos are premium art. They insisted on cinema-grade cameras, meticulous editing, and the necessity of high-definition big screens to truly feel the experience. But YouTube Shorts said none of that matters. The algorithm was reprogrammed to aggressively push 15 to 60-second vertical clips to the top of everyone's feed. What followed was an attention economy war, a war that traditional music videos simply could not win. In the past, when a superstar like Justin Bieber released a new music video, Vevo held the reins of promotion, driving millions to watch the full 4-minute production to immerse themselves in the artistry. But in the era of shorts, YouTube chose to promote snippets, 15-second hooks cut by fans or influencers for dance challenges or comedic skits. The result? Millions of viewers chose to scroll through those endless short clips instead of ever clicking to watch the actual music video on Vevo's channel. The Vevo watermark, once a badge of elite status, completely vanished in the world of shorts. In these vertical videos, screen real estate is limited.
The Vevo logo, which record labels once took so much pride in as a symbol of brand identity, was now viewed as an obstruction or simply cropped out to fit mobile screen ratios. A decade of built-up prestige was suddenly reduced to being just a background audio track for someone else's video. Global artists who invested millions into their MVs were shoved onto the same level as high schoolers dancing in their bedrooms. The AI only cared about how many times a song was used in a short. It couldn't care less how beautiful the cinematography was. The ultimate sting, however, was the loss of revenue control. In the long-form video system, Vevo had the right to control the ad server and command premium advertising rates. But in the Shorts ecosystem, revenue is mostly allocated through a creator pool, where YouTube holds the rulebook exclusively. The record labels and Vevo began to lose their precise grip on income, falling into a murky, centralized revenue-sharing cake. Vevo, in this phase, is like someone trying to sell an expensive oil painting in a flea market where everyone is rushing to buy cheap stickers. 4K music videos filmed with world-class equipment have become nothing more than digital noise in the eyes of an algorithm that loves speed and brevity. Record labels have come to the bitter realization: the more YouTube pushes shorts, the more the value of a traditional music video plummets. And the most painful part of all? They are the ones providing the ammunition, their music, to YouTube to create the very shorts that are killing their own full-length masterpieces.
The saga of Vevo serves as one of the most invaluable lessons in the history of digital business. It is the story of content creators who believed they possessed absolute power, only to forget a fundamental truth of the online world. The platform, is always more important than the water, content. The record labels began this journey with the arrogance that their superstars were hostages for negotiation. But in the end, it was the labels themselves who became hostages to an algorithm they didn't write. As we stand in 2026, Vevo is no longer the king it was in 2009. Their current status has shifted to a content distribution and rights management company, struggling daily to maintain a tiny sliver of the audience's attention. Today, Vevo's primary mission isn't to compete with YouTube, but to facilitate an escape for music videos, moving them from mobile screens to connected TV. This is their final high-stakes bet. On a television screen, there are no shorts and no gaming clips to interrupt the experience, and advertisers are still willing to pay a premium for stunning 4K visuals. The most expensive lesson Vevo leaves for the business world is this: never build your empire on someone else's land. Vevo's decision to abandon its own platform development in 2018 was a permanent acceptance of tenant status. Today, even if a music video reaches 10 billion views, all the crucial data, who the viewers are, what they like, and what they will buy next, flows exclusively into Google's hands. The labels get the money, but Google gets the power. And in the future, the power to understand the consumer is worth many times more than ad revenue alone. Ultimately, Vevo is a symbol of an era where quality must surrender to convenience. Million-dollar music videos may still exist, but they will never again be the center of the musical universe. They have become just one small part of a much larger ecosystem driven by AI, short-form clips, and influencers. Vevo's future depends entirely on how long they can cling to the illusion of prestige. In a world where anyone can be a creator with just a smartphone, the moment the Vevo watermark fails to command higher ad rates than a common video, this golden cage will truly collapse. What will remain is only the legend of the music giants who tried to control the internet, but were ultimately swallowed whole by it.